Yay. Hi, Angie.
Hi, G.
Hi.
Hi, Garrett.
I love seeing your face. I miss you.
Miss you too. Miss you too.
I'm going to cry right now.
Oh.
And Leslie's joining.
Angie, I told you my son's going to be in DC. He just finished his last final yesterday. Angie, meet my son, Garrett. Garrett, tell Angie when you're going to be in DC.
Hi, Garrett.
Yeah. Hi, Angie. So yeah, I'm going to be in DC starting next week, and then I'll be there for about a month and a half, clerking with the Senate Banking Committee.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm very excited for this. So excited to see all this and everybody. Sorry.
Definitely. Awesome. And I see some of my students are here. There's Kaden who's hiding, and there's Benjamin. Hi, Benjamin.
That's so sweet.
Hi, Ann Leslie. Happy you made it. Missed you too.
Awesome.
Well, I'll go ahead and welcome everyone. Yeah, definitely pay attention to the chat because Otto's going to be typing in the chat. And we have more people come in, but we'll just get started. Danielle, why don't you introduce yourself to some of these new people and kick off our book club?
Okay. So my name is Danielle Levy. I'm a part of ATPF, and we came up with this idea to just read books together and review them. And I've been doing it with Otto, who is my co-host. And Otto has become also the, I guess, PR agent and recruiting all of these authors to come. So it's been really cool in that it's become really intimate and a really awesome experience just because we can have these exchanges, and we've just been doing it, I think, for a year and a half or 2 years now.
That's so awesome. I love it.
So we're so grateful to have Angie here. Thank you, Angie, for making the time to come and join our book club.
Oh, definitely. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me and for being willing to read this book. And I was so thrilled when Otto, I think I told everybody here like a couple of, our last meeting at the Lunch and Learn, that I got connected to Otto because I heard from Janelle Brown, who is an author friend of mine, for her book that, she came to this book club and she just had nothing but amazing things to say. And she said, and she was an early reader of Happiness Falls, my new book that's coming out in September, that has a non-speaker featured in it as one of the major characters. And I asked Otto to be a beta reader for it and to get his thoughts. And he read Miracle Creek first, I guess, to check me out or something. and he told me he loved it, and I was just so excited and thrilled. And so of course when he invited me to be part of this, I was so excited. It's really special to me. I'm really thrilled, and I'm really happy that it's being recorded. I hope it's okay if I share afterward.
Absolutely, please. We
Okay,
welcome
great.
you. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay.
I love it. Otto said in the chat, he's like, our book club is like tiny desk concerts on NPR.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, so true.
Oh, and Otto, you read the short story. I have a short story that just came out on Amazon this week. Yeah, it's called A Planned Occasion, and it's and it's free to Prime members, so to listen and to read. So please feel free to go and read too.
I love that. And Otto also said, I love the cover of your book. I do judge the book by the cover.
I know, isn't it really, really cool? I have to share with you guys. Can I share something really fun? Wait, can I share screen? I don't know
Yeah,
if I can.
I think you can. Yeah, you should be able to. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna share screen and I'm gonna show you guys something just because it has to do with my book, with my art. Hold on. Okay, let me go to a Zoom meeting. I'll just share screen. Okay, so what would that be? Okay, so it's this. All right, I'm gonna share. Okay, all right, ready?
Yes.
This is my website.
Ooh,
Oh,
cool.
Isn't that cool?
That's really cool.
Oh my gosh, can you do that again?
Yeah, here.
that was amazing. Wow.
Mute it.
¿Vale?
Oh, I love
You
that.
have to mute it.
You like that?
Isn't that cool?
That is really cool.
Okay, so I can stop. I don't know how I stop. Okay, stop. Okay. So anyway, so that's my son made it. My 19-year-old son made it. So I'm especially into it.
Oh, wow, that's so special. Your son's an artist? Or he just did this?
No, he's just like, I don't know. He does programming or something. He does
Yeah.
programming on the side or whatever. So he
No te escuchan, right? Tiene el mío.
Ya,
so
creo que sí.
anyway.
That's amazing. Well, hello to other people who just joined. Welcome to our book club. Otto's like, holy cow. That shows how water can rage or have calm moments, just like people.
Oh, I love that. I love that interpretation. Otto, you're just we're considering maybe changing the cover just based on some feedback from some booksellers, but I love my current cover, so I'm gonna share that with them, Otto, with my editor. Otto says he has a gift. Yes, we agree. I think we all agree.
Yes.
And did you notice? I'm gonna put this on for a picture.
Oh, cool.
I got some Otto merch. I got Everyone Belongs Here. I got Otto's mug.
Oh,
Wait, yeah, this way. Chapter 1. I love that. And I also have this one.
One thing.
oh, cool.
Oh,
It's
I love
Otto's
it.
mottos. It's the postcard.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, whoops. Okay. All right. Anyway, yes.
Otto's like, sweet. I love it. Well, I just want to take this time. I mean, we have an hour of your time, Angie. So I mean, everybody can unmute yourselves if you'd like to and ask Angie questions. It's like our time to spend time. Otto says, thanks for the shout out, Angie.
Yes, absolutely. Of course,
And
always.
with this best-selling author, and Danielle also put together a full-on slideshow that's beautiful. If it's okay, Angie, we'd love to share some of it with you.
Yes, I would love it. I would love that.
Okay, cool.
We love how Danielle puts these slideshows together. Okay. So Danielle, just give me direction.
Okay. Well, this is all about Angie here. And I guess she moved as a preteen from Seoul, South Korea. Hold on, let me minimize my screen. To the suburbs of Baltimore. And then after graduating, she studied philosophy at Stanford and attended Harvard Law School, where she was an editor. The novel that we read, Miracle Creek, won the Edgar Allan Award, the ITW Thriller Award, the Strand Critics Award, and the Pinkley Prize, and was named one of the best books of the year by Time, The Washington Post, Kirkus, and the Today Show. And then we were just talking about Happiness Falls. So this is kind of like it's interesting reading about the author when she's here with us. So
I know, it's a little awkward, right?
just
Oh
to
my
tell you
God.
a little bit about yourself. And so I'd put the characters down here. It's a pretty interconnected novel, and I really appreciated that about it, just because all of the characters I thought were really, really well developed. And every time I finished a chapter, I was second guessing myself and didn't actually know what I thought was going to happen. Whereas originally you kind of make assumptions about certain characters in the beginning. So essentially there's the main family, which we'll go into this in more detail later for people that didn't read it, who own this hyperbaric chamber therapy. Okay, yeah. Here's the summary, basically, I think from the website. It's a courtroom drama and classic during an alternative medical treatment, and it's called HBOT. An explosion kills 2 people and injures 6 others. The fire that caused the explosion was set deliberately, and readers follow along as Kim weaves moments of drama set in the present with flashbacks to the past. As a Korean immigrant who came to the United States as a child, she's a formal trial lawyer and a parent to children with chronic illness, and she became interested in HBOT after using it to help one of her children. So then I just put like a summary of HBOT because I actually wasn't familiar with it either. And I became very interested in it, just the science behind it. So I was doing some Googling. But I guess you administer oxygen at a greater than normal atmospheric pressure. And the procedure is performed in a specifically designed area that permits delivery of 100% oxygen. And I guess the next few slides kind of describe this, but I guess generally it helps with inflammation, if I have that right.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, if I can, so the theory is that because you're under pressure and oxygen, which is necessary to heal. So oxygen, under pressure, 100% oxygen, the theory goes, delves deeper into each cell, and kind of infiltrates the cell, all of our cells. And so it promotes faster healing, and it promotes faster growth of different cells. So like hospitals use it for things like burns, like if you have burned tissue and you need that. And hospitals also use it for people who have gone through trauma, who have gone through any kind of poisoning, carbon monoxide poisoning, things like that. So hospitals now have it, and it's FDA approved for something like 10 different conditions. And the experimental use is that parents recently have been using it. Recently, by I mean like the last 15 years or so, for things like cerebral palsy and for autism as well. And I used it with my son when he was 4 years old for his ulcerative colitis,
Okay.
and to heal some of his gut, because he had so it didn't so and my son, the same son, was actually born deaf in one ear, and it turns out afterwards we found out that it actually helps with nerve regeneration. So he regained some of his hearing as a side effect after we did HBOT for him when he was 4 years old. It was
Okay, wow.
very, very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really know about it. So when it was just a very interesting like premise for a plot to begin with. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, wow.
Yeah.
And then I just described the incident. So essentially this facility, what happens is there's a fire and an explosion, and then 2 participants die. And kind of just for people who didn't read it, the mother of one of the people that dies is on trial throughout the book. And then you can go through these, skip these. I just put different like papers I've found if anyone wanted to look.
Oh my God, Danielle, this is so cool.
I liked the book a lot. It was really cool. It was fun to dive into and pick apart.
Great.
So the thing I really liked about your book, Angie, was like just the difficult relationships that you created and how your characters were so multifaceted. I've always had an interest in characters who are originally stereotyped or maybe depicted a certain way. And it's very common to see that, you know, when you have groups of people or whatever that adopt an idea about someone, you know, they just make this immediate conclusion that they're capable of everything else.
Yeah.
And so I really thought that Elizabeth was a great character for that because it's tempting, I think, to have main characters a lot of the time that are likable.
Mhm.
And so everyone, you know, wanted to assume that Elizabeth killed Henry and, you know, she just wanted this break and that her disposition day to day demonstrated that she was capable of that. And I think that that was actually something that would be really helpful for people to read who maybe expect themselves to appear perfect all the time.
Yes.
Mhm.
I love
So-
that I love you that you said that, Danielle, because one of the things that I've talked to a lot of people about is the expectation for mothers to just be perfect and saintly all the time. And I
Right.
think mothers, it doesn't matter how perfect your children are, and how, you know, how angelic and, you know, great grades and or not, you know. I think every mother has, oh yeah, so the myth of the good mother. This is great. Yeah, I love that you picked up on that. Thank you. Okay, I'll let you go on. Okay.
Well, you go on too, because I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's so great. Yeah.
You're welcome
Um,
to jump in, Angie.
yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Danielle.
Yeah, I found that just to be like a really kind of, sorry, my dogs are playing in the back. I just found that to be a really, really essential topic that you brought up because I don't see it a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, there is this thing where it's, you know, especially like in groups that we have, you know, we always try to be positive and, you know, get people to feel the best they can feel and make things really fun. And I can imagine that sometimes if people just don't feel like that day, they feel like they're failing.
Yes.
And that it's okay maybe to have days where you're off and you're not conspicuously someone that you know is okay that day, or you're struggling with your child, or it's not a perfect environment, and that doesn't make you someone that's deserving of being told that you're not a good parent.
Yeah. No, that's great.
So yeah, I think Elizabeth was my favorite character
Oh, that's
because of
so
that.
great. Yeah.
And I liked the immigration component as well a lot. I think that it's really interesting to highlight that it can actually be isolating, you know, to come somewhere new when everyone's telling you to expect this great, impressive stuff. And then you go and it's just so much different. And that dynamic was really interesting, you know, with Mary and her mother, and that Mary's mother almost was envious of like Teresa and Rosa, for example, at one point.
Yes, exactly.
So I thought that was really interesting too. And you know, you can have those type of inner feelings with, you know, neurotypical and not neurotypical children. So it's there was just a lot of layers that I really liked to the
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
And
Thank you. Yeah. And
Angie?
yeah. Oh, this is great. Yeah. Go. This
No,
is,
I just said it. It's okay.
yeah. No, I love this.
But yeah, I just kind of wrote here. Otto said, "Oh, yes, that is why I love water as a metaphor, because you cannot have life without water." Let me see what else he said. Um, it's life-saving but also deadly.
Mhm.
Otto
You can
also
read his
said-
comments at the end. He's just creating a bunch of stuff. And so I'm just putting it all in the chat because he said I want her to read it after she's done. So you don't have to read it now. You can read it when you're
Okay.
done with your,
Okay.
perfect.
Otto's very poetic.
Very. I love that.
Is there anything you want to say about this slide, Danielle, or are you done with it?
Um,
Are you done with this slide?
I think so, yeah. I kind of want Angie to talk too.
Yeah, what I love about the previous two slides is that's so something that I felt when I was doing the hyperbaric oxygen therapy with my son. So he was 4 years old. He was and up until the time that we went into that, you know, that group therapy. So in the novel and also in my real life, the HBOT that we did was in a group chamber. So it looked like a little submarine. And in fact, it was actually originally called a submarine. This was the original title. And you know, this was the original book. This is the ARE, the ARC or Advanced Reader Copy. So it was called Miracle Submarine. And that's the name of this oxygen, you know, chamber in the book. And there were 4 families that go inside at the same time, and then you're sealed in together for an hour at a time. And I became really close with the people who, you know, we did this every day with. And one thing that was really interesting to me was this concept of how you think about yourself being relative to other people, you know, and what you're used to. So the relativity of happiness. And that's something that you just described, Danielle, and highlighted in one of the slides. And it's kind of the foundational element or principle that happiness comes from. Because, and it's something that I thought about as an immigrant. So I immigrated myself. So that's that immigrant thread is one of the threads from my own life. And the other thread, of course, that's from my own life is the HBOT experience. And then finally the courtroom drama too, because I used to be a litigator and that was my first, you know, first job and career. And so those 3 threads came together. And in all 3, I really think this idea of the relativity of happiness and the objective versus subjective degrees of happiness really came alive for me, because as an immigrant, as a Korean kid in Seoul, you know, as I came over when I was 11, my parents and I were so poor. We lived in a 1-room part of another family's house, and we didn't have indoor plumbing. So, you know, we used an outhouse. We had to go to a public bathhouse. We didn't have running water. We had, you know, wells, all of that sort of stuff. We didn't have electricity. So we went from that to coming here to the US to this almost like a McMansion that my aunt had outside of Baltimore. And I got my own room for the first time, you know, and I had a bed and I had a shower. I had indoor, you know, bathroom, a bathroom that was like mine, you know, all of these things, TVs, refrigerators, microwaves, all these things that I hadn't had before. And so I should have been like ecstatic, and yet I was so miserable. And I think a lot of that had to do with my, you know, my loss of the relationships with my parents, and also my loss of my sense of self-competence, because I was, you know, I could no longer speak very well because I didn't speak or understand English. And so all of these things came together for me. And then it came together again when I started doing this HBOT, because I went into this HBOT feeling pretty sad for myself. Like I was like, wow, you know, I have to spend all of my time making special food for my child who has like allergies and has celiac disease and, you know, and has ulcerative colitis. And all three of my boys had different medical issues as babies. They're all fine now. And so I had to do all this stuff, and I was feeling sorry for myself. And I was like, none of my other friends have to do this. They just get to drop off their kids in preschool and then like go, have bonbons all day long or whatever it is that they do. I wasn't sure. And, and then I came to the HBOT and I saw how we all had difficulties as mothers in different ways. And what you expect is also relative. And so, yeah, that scene where Teresa, who's the mother of somebody with cerebral palsy, who is in a wheelchair and who can't talk and who can't walk, who can't sing and hug her mom, the way that, Elizabeth's child can. Or even Young, the Korean immigrant who has sort of like the perfect daughter who's beautiful and doing well in school and popular and all that kind of stuff, she thinks. But she sees them hugging and exchanging a beautiful moment, and she is so envious. And I think we all have things like that as human, as people. So I'm so glad that you highlighted that. Thank you, Danielle.
Yeah. No, I thought that was really profound, just because I think it's easy to sometimes assume that if you're part of one group, you guys are all going to be there for each other, or kind of mesh well, and sometimes that's just not the case.
Yeah.
All
Is
right.
there more on those slide? On the
Just a
slideshow?
few. Just a few more.
I just I highlighted kind of I read an article and saw that you were relating your life experiences to the book, so I put a few clips there.
Oh, that's great.
And then that's it.
Oh, thank you.
Well, we can definitely email this out to everyone too, so that they have,
Yes,
because
that's wonderful. Love that.
good nuggets in it. I love it. Kaden said, happiness is a choice. What we focus on gets bigger. I love that.
I love that, Kaden.
Wow, that's nice.
So now I think we can open it up to questions and comments from everybody. We'll start with what Otto has been putting in the chat.
Yeah, and also I love that Otto pointed out the great art on Benjamin's wall, because I agree, I love it.
Okay, so Otto said at the beginning, Angie, would you have had the confidence to write a fictional novel if you wouldn't have had all the super successes of Stanford and Harvard and a successful law career?
Oh, that's such an, I love that. I've never been asked anything like that, Otto. Leave it to you to make me think hard and deep. I think that having had what I had, made me maybe in a way less likely to do that, because here was the choice that I had. So as somebody whose parents sacrificed their whole lives, right? My parents left Korea behind, this world that they knew, their language, their family, their friends, to come to the US for me. And for my education, really, and so for me, having achieved a lot in a world that they believed in, that they spent so much money, right, putting me through these schools and stuff, I felt really guilty when I decided to leave the law, and which I did when I was in my 20s. So writing is actually my fifth career. So I was a lawyer, and then I was a management consultant, and then I was a .com entrepreneur, and then I was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years. And then I started writing in my 40s, and Miracle Creek came out the week that I turned 50. And I felt so guilty doing something kind of frivolous, right? In kind of the traditional Korean society, being a lawyer or a doctor, that's the thing you're supposed to do, not being a fiction writer. where, you know, success can be so much more nebulous. Who knows if you're even going to sell your book, or, you know, whether it's going to do well or anything like that. I mean, they're so proud of me and they're so supportive. So I love my parents for that. But it was really, really hard to leave something that I knew I was good at behind and try something new, completely new, where I was like, I have no idea. I've never done creative writing. Who knows if I'm even going to be successful? And I felt like I owed it to my parents to try to be successful. And it's hard to find success as a novelist. And so I felt badly. Like I felt like I was maybe letting them down. Did they just waste like this, like hundreds of thousands? I don't even remember what my tuition was at that time. It was so long ago. Whatever it was a lot. And I was like, did they just sacrifice their lives for nothing? And they would say no, because I was happy and I was fulfilled, and that's what they wanted for me. But it was really, really hard to actually let that go, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Otto was saying, yes, writing may have seemed whimsical.
Yes, exactly. Right. It's
And
not
so-
substantive. It's not like being, you know, a professor. It's not something that you can list on your resume. I mean, it is if you, you know, like luckily it worked out. And I'm very, very happy, but it might have been nothing. Yeah.
He said, ha ha ha, 50 is the new 30.
Yeah, I hope so. Right? Yes, exactly. Let's hope so. We parents all hope that, right?
So, also, yes, Otto's dad grew up very poor, so he was so driven and has residual guilt from his parents coming to America for his future as well.
Yes, exactly. I think we all want to please our parents, you know, more than anything else. And it's hard when something is so new and something is so unproven. And I guess I thought of writing as more like a hobby that I was doing as a stay-at-home mom. And so in that way, it kind of helped. And then, so I started with short stories. This is something that I always preach for creative writing students. And, you know, I always say, you know, start with short stories to see what you think about the whole writing process, because a novel is a book length project is just so difficult, and it takes, like, you know, usually first novels take several years to write, sometimes more. And so I always think that starting with a short story or short essay, really revising, getting feedback from other people, revising and editing multiple times, getting it really perfect, and then sending it out for publication. That whole process is like a microcosm of the same process for a book length, you know, novel. And so if you don't like that, then you probably shouldn't go into, you know, a career, trying to have a career as a novelist. So I love that. Yeah. Looks like, yeah, go ahead. No, you go ahead. I was just looking at the comments.
Yeah, I was gonna go back, but I had a question. So the short story that Otto was referring to, did you write that before you wrote these two books?
I did actually. That's the last short story that I wrote before I started writing Miracle Creek. So I wrote it 10 years ago, because I started Miracle Creek in 2013. And I usually spent a lot of time revising and editing and then sending it out. But right after I wrote that, the short story is really about kind of seizing the day and not waiting for the perfect opportunity to, you know, do special things. Don't save things for a later day because you may not get it, that kind of thing. And I guess I kind of took my own advice, because after I finished like this first draft, I was like, what am I waiting for? Let's get it started. You know, I had this idea about the HBOT, and one of my huge fears in doing the HBOT was that something weird would happen with the oxygen, because it's pure oxygen. You can see it says, like, danger, flammable, do not, put like no fire around it and whatever. And so I was just like, I had this idea for what if something goes wrong and what would happen inside this, basically a crucible, right? Because the sealed chamber, it's physically a crucible, and it's also metaphorically and emotionally a crucible, because all these parents are like talking about their lives and comparing and trading and envy and all that kind of stuff, like all that, and but so much love too, and all of that compressed together. And I was like, okay, I've had this idea, I should really just write it. So I never sent it out. And then once, this happened with my novel, an editor that I really, really admire, who is the series editor for the Best American Short Stories series, Heidi Pitlaw, approached me and said that she would love to work with me on a short story if I wanted to contribute to the series that she was putting together. And I was like, well, I have this short story that I haven't really edited yet. And I sent it to her, and it was perfect because I got to work with her, and so it was great.
I love that. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Otto also said, he said, yes, that is why I love the parallel between writers and typers. It's a marathon. It takes time to have success and create meaningful communication.
I love that. Oh my God. Otto, you are so good. I love this parallel between writers and typers, and that process of learning and engaging. And also, I love it, especially in my instance, because so many writers I know, started writing when they were like 4 years old or 5 years old, like when they were like little, they've always known that they wanted to be a writer. I did not. It didn't even occur to me until I was in my 40s that I would want to do it. But as soon as I did, my life just sort of like changed. It was like a spark. And I feel like with typers, that happens too, that on the stories that I've heard about, that just all of this, the early spoken stuff that so many people go through wasn't there. And so when it comes, it's like this like lifelong process of editing things that are in your heads, and the words that are in your heads just pouring out in these beautiful paragraphs that I'm just floored by. So I love that parallel. That's so great.
He said, a planned occasion really spoke to me because parents always ask me how do I incorporate communication, especially social interactions, into my life. And I always say, it doesn't have to be a planned occasion.
Oh, that's so great. Otto, I love how you make these connections between, things that you wouldn't necessarily think are, are related. And yet you do. I just love that. That's so great.
I was like, I'm so happy to see typers here hearing your words today. Oh, yay. Shout out to the typers.
Yes, absolutely.
I'd love to hear from more of them in the chat if they want to type.
Yes. I loved hearing from Caden.
Yay. Okay, so I'm going back to Otto put even more. Okay, so he says, back to Miracle Creek, I assume. Okay. I love to incorporate what I'm learning in school. Rollo May is a psychologist and English professor and wrote a collection of essays titled The Courage to Create. May says creatives, truly creative people, have creativity when a new and novel piece of art has to have these ingredients: the right person, a new vision, the time and space, the commitment, and a final product. That talent doesn't lead to creativity. You have to have follow through. What do you think about this, talent versus creativity?
Oh, I love that. I mean, I think that talent is part of creativity, but what I love about the idea of having to have the right ingredients, So, not only the person and the talent, but the vision. I'm sorry, I'm looking off to the quote, and the time and space. I love that, especially because I really think that's true for me. Like, I could not have created Miracle Creek or Happiness Falls, right, if I didn't have the experiences that I went through, if I didn't wait until I was in my 40s to start writing. Because back in my 20s, like, let's say that I said that I want to be a novelist right off the bat, I wouldn't have had the courtroom experiences. I wouldn't have had the parenting experiences that I needed in order to create, the story that is Miracle Creek. And same thing with Happiness Falls. Like, if I didn't have that kind of obsession that I've been having based on my own experience as a Korean immigrant who was underestimated and made to feel less than because I didn't speak English perfectly. And so everybody thought that I was stupid, right? I don't understand. She obviously must not understand anything. And so they were talking about me in front of me, like behind me, but actually in front of me. Like, having those types of humiliating experiences were really tough, but that's what made me have passion and like kind of become obsessed about the role of communication and how we underestimate people who cannot speak. We as a society equate oral fluency with intelligence. We just do. That's why in West Wing, all the characters who are like the most brilliant people, right, Garrett? I threw that in for you, Garrett, because of the whole Senate thing. I mean, right? Like, the people who are in that world, the faster you speak and the bigger words you use, the smarter you are. And if you stammer or you have an accent or you can't speak, then that must mean that you don't have the words inside you. And if you don't have the words inside you, then that means that you're not very smart. That's how we've been taught. And that's what I didn't even realize that I thought that until I went through it in middle school. And I was like, wow, I am realizing that my opinion of myself has gone down, even though I know for a fact that I can speak a different language, and there's a good reason why I can't speak English, but I still felt so insecure and so less than, so judged. And when I found out about typers through my friends who are, that I did HBOT with, who started doing working with people like Elizabeth, like Evie, and like Otto's therapist and things like that, I was just floored. And I was like, I cannot stop thinking about this, and I cannot wonder about it, because to me it was so painful what I went through. And what I went through was like nothing, right? It was just a couple years. I still had an outlet. I could still speak to my parents and my family. It was like nothing. And yet it was so painful and so upsetting and traumatizing. And so to go to think about people, a group of people who exist like Otto and Benjamin and Caden, who were underestimated all their lives and looked down upon for so long in a complete way, until they found spelling and typing, it just, I just couldn't get it out of my head. And that's why I think so much of my fiction is about that. Like 90% of my short stories are about people who can't speak or can't be understood in some way, because I think it's just something that just I can't think about. And my son, my oldest one, he had apraxia also when he was younger. That he needed, and a lot of that had to do with the hearing loss too. And it just broke my heart when people, in preschool, right? Like he's in preschool, and I can see even the teachers, even the adults, like talking to him, in these loud, slow voices, which is what people do when they kind of underestimate, you know, what you do and all of that sort of stuff. So it's just something that's very, very close to me and very, very meaningful to me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you, Caden, for weighing in. He says also, that's a good question. Talent is only part of the equation, I think. Hard work and perseverance are just as important. They will take you farther than talent alone. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that, Caden. I think that's what that quote is also talking about too, is that it is the circumstance and it is the kind of person that you've become, right? Like it's not just about, you know, did you get exactly the right nurturing to shape you into the perfect background to become a novelist or an artist or, you know, whatever it is that you want to do, right? But that you can really make of it from your own motivations too. Thank you, Caden.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Hey, Angie.
Oh,
Yes.
Hi, it's Ben Dad. I just wanted to ask a quick question, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ben had asked about how he's like characters' names, and then I like clarified with him a little bit. He was interested to know if there's like some development behind the names, like if you're trying to project maybe like a demographic or, you know what I mean? Kind of like the 1950s high school quarterback named Biff or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
like, how does that process?
Yes, no, I love that. Can we possibly go back to Danielle's like second page that has all the character names? I just mostly because I can't even remember what their names were anymore. Just because.
I had to go back a few times and like,
Yeah,
just imprinted in my brain.
Yes, no, definitely. Okay, so some of the names, I think some of it was I liked like Pak and Young as names. Their last name is Yu, and I just thought, you know, Pak Yu, kind of like FU, you know. I think that's the kind. I went to middle school in the US when I was in ESL, English as a, you know, for second language students. I was there with someone named what was her name? I wrote an essay about it. Actually, it was so traumatizing. And it was like what was her name? Fuck Young and something like that, or yeah, Fong Yuck or something like that. Anyway, I don't know why I'm having a mind block about it because I talk about this a lot. But anyway, it's just there was so much cruelty with foreign language names that kids especially teenagers will make fun of. That really, really resonated with me and stayed with me, just how awful it was that people will take names and make a joke out of it. So I think that's why Pak Yu, I think to me was the kind of thing that I can see the dad being in a grocery store in the middle of Baltimore, you know, in a really dangerous neighborhood, and kind of gangs coming in and making fun of him and saying things, you know, that would really, really enrage him. And so I thought about that experience as just so, you know, belittling for somebody like that, and it just takes away your dignity. And so things like that. And Young Yu, kind of similar, right? Young Yu, it wouldn't be as like offensive, but they would definitely do weird things with it. Mary I chose just because Mary is one Korean Catholics tend to choose a lot of the saint names, and you know, Mary names like Mary and, you know, John, and you know, all the biblical names. So I sort of did it that way. And then other ones like Elizabeth, I wanted Elizabeth and Henry and Victor to be the Ward family. I wanted them to be kind of like upper crust and to have that kind of cool veneer of like that upper crust, like almost royalty kind of sounding, very waspy. And so a lot of these were ethnic. The Santiago family, you know, Teresa and Rosa, Carlos, I wanted to show a diversity that I think is in the DC area, in the Northern Virginia area where it's set. So I wanted to show that diversity through the names as well. And then Kit and TJ Kozlowski, like they're kind of the, ones that maybe the Ward family would kind of look down on because they're a little more, like rough and tumble. My husband is from North Carolina, and he grew up in a trailer park. And he was the first person in his family to go to college, and we met at Harvard Law School. And so he also like talks a lot about the names and those types of names like Kit and TJ, and how he would be made maybe to feel less than because of the economic disparity that the blue bloods would kind of look down on. So I sort of thought about that. And then the trial participants, who are just like the more minor characters, Carlton is the name of my firstborn, Anna is my mom, Andrew is my baby, Steve is my middle son. So I tried to take people who are special in my life and give them, little pieces, especially with this being my first novel, and I didn't know if this was actually going to become a real novel. So I wanted to do something fun like that. Yeah.
I love that. That's a great question.
Yeah, I love that too. Thank you, Benjamin.
Otto said, yes, and Mary's name was shifted from her Korean name. You whited it up.
Yes, no, absolutely, because that happens so much. So in Happiness Falls also, the mom is a Korean immigrant, and her name is Hannah, because Hana is a Korean name. Hana actually means number one or first. And so a lot of Korean families will name their kids like, Hana, because it can be a Korean name and an American name. And same thing with like another family Korean name that's in Happiness Falls is Eugene, who is the 14-year-old with Angelman and autism, who's a who's a non-speaker in the beginning, and they call him nonverbal. And he is named Eugene because Eugene is it's a Korean name. Eugene, Korean names are 2 syllables. And Eugene is, an American name, although it's not like considered a very cool name, but whatever. These days, right? It's all fashionable in different ways. And then Otto, I wonder if that would be a Korean name too. I'm gonna ask my cousin who is looking to lives in Korea to see if that might be like a contemporary Korean name also. But very, very cool. Yeah.
And then Otto said, my dad's name is Claudio, and was the source of a bunch of teasing. In Argentina, Claudio is very popular, but in East LA, not so much.
right, definitely. And sometimes like you can't come up with a nickname version. Like with Carlton, our first son, we were like, is Carlton not a very cool name? But like we were like, you know what, he can go by Carl. Carl's a pretty cool, like that's like a that's like a name that's like still popular and whatever. But actually Carlton is such a Carlton. He was like, I would never go by Carl, I'm fine as a Carlton. So he's that kind of a kid.
I think of the Fresh Prince. Carlton, the brother.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. Apparently there was a Carlton who's a door opener or something like that, like the doorman. Is that what it's called? In some older TV show from like the 70s or 60s or something like that. And so we were like, well, okay, well, being a doorman would be a pretty, relaxing, not stressful job. So that would be a happy life. That's good.
Yeah.
Otto says the Jeffersons. Maybe that's.
Yes, the Jeffersons. How do you even know this?
That's true.
That is so.
We laugh at how racist and ableist those shows were.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I haven't even. I mean, I think I know the song, the "Moving On Up," but I don't think I've ever watched it because I wasn't here in the 70s. So, you know, because I grew up. Yeah. All right.
Otto also asked, I'm so curious about the cover. Is it a ribbon which can tie everything up in a neat little package with a pretty bow, or be a noose to kill the dream?
Oh, for Happiness Falls? That is so cool. How do you think of these? You're like a marketing person's dream. You really could go into PR and marketing. I really, really like that. I'm gonna send that. So I think what it's supposed to be for Happiness Falls is it's like a ribbon, but it's two different sides. I mean, you guys saw from the website, it's two different images. And so I sort of, there's a line where Eugene, I guess it's kind of a spoiler, but probably not given the context of, you know, it turns out that, you know, the not quote unquote non-speaker who is Eugene, who's 14 years old, is actually, you know, by the end, we do see him communicating, typing and spelling, not typing, but spelling. And he says at some point about his dad, he says, what exactly does he say? He says, I don't know what page it's on, so I can't, but he says something about his dad, he has difficulty spelling with his dad, and he says, I can't spell with him because he doesn't believe, and he doesn't believe because I can't, you know, communicate with him. And that line apparently is what the cover designer, we had like something like 8 different cover designers. We went through so many iterations. I have so many, but the one who did this, Cassie, she said that was on her wall, and she wanted something that represented that dilemma, that, you know, and she, so it's, and also just that it's two different sides of the same story, how you can, you know, see a person, and then there's a different layer on the back, and how, you know, it's not always what you see on the surface, that there's something behind it, and that there are two different sides. So she wanted to talk about that. And also I think she also wanted to show that it's the spiral, just because it's like one of these cool kind of, it looks a little bit like a helix, like a DNA helix. And there's a lot of stuff about science and genetics and things like that in here. Angelman syndrome, which is what Eugene has, is a genetic, you know, disorder, and all of that sort of stuff. So all of those things combined together. And she also said that she loves, do you guys go to Trader Joe's and get those twirly, it's a snack that's a twirly snack. Here, let me see if I can find it, and you guys are gonna laugh so hard. This is like truly behind the scenes kind of, called Crunchy Curls. Here, I'm gonna show it to you. I'm gonna show you the image. Okay, so it is here. I will, I'm gonna share.
The best snacks ever.
It's so funny. Here, can I
Is
share?
it like a dessert or?
Yeah.
No, it's a here, I'm showing you. Do you see how it's like
Oh yeah.
curly? And so apparently her Cassie's boyfriend said to her that, I think that it's just subliminal, like you eat so much of that, you were eating that the entire time you were working on this, and so therefore you just had it in your mind and it just came to you. So we're going to be sending out like influencer boxes, and if we keep this cover, which I really, really hope we do, then we will be sending out the Trader Joe's Crunchy Curls as part of the influencer box, right? And maybe like bracelet that like goes like that, right?
That's a great idea. I love
So
that.
fun. Yeah.
I see one other question. Oh, Otto was saying, in regards to what you were saying earlier, he said, yes, smooth sailing versus tsunami. I don't know the context for that. Sorry, Otto. You can skip it.
And Otto also said, and this really is so touching to me, don't discount your experience, Angie. Trauma is personal. Thank you. That means a lot to me. I did have I really did worry about that. I worried about Happiness Falls. Like, do I have the right to be telling the story when, it's not my experience, it's not my family's experience. But at the same time, I did think it's helpful for more and more people to be talking about this and depicting characters like this, because I think the more we hear about it from different sources, I love that there's like the documentary Spellers. I'm about to watch it. I'm so excited about things like that. And Naoki Higashita's book, The Reason I Jump, which was, I think, one of the first, to be written from the perspective of a speller. So, and that was actually done by my publisher and editor. He was the editor for that book. So that's one of the reasons why I went with them. But it did make me worry. Like, yes, I did have this very temporary limited experience as an immigrant, but is that like enough for me to be talking about this when I'm not a typer myself? I'm not a speller myself. I haven't had, that kind of difficulty in the same degree. So it really, really helps me to hear from people like Otto that it's okay. Like, it's okay that I wrote about this. So that really helps. And Otto also asked, was Henry's house in Happiness Falls? Yes. So Happiness Falls, Henry's house, which is established at the end of Miracle Creek, which is like a kind of a place, a small therapy center that kind of specializes in people of all types of needs. But it's established at the end by using Elizabeth's money and things like that. And so that is, Henry's house is actually in Happiness Falls because the family in Happiness Falls, they live very close to Henry's house and they actually go to Henry's house. So a lot of the families in Henry's house are friends of theirs. And we also see Shannon, the lawyer from Miracle Creek, in Happiness Falls. She actually steps in.
Cool.
Yeah. So Happiness Falls is about the 14-year-old Eugene goes on a walk at the beginning of the pandemic with his dad, who's a stay-at-home dad, like my husband now, at the nearby park, and only Eugene returns home. And so the family doesn't know that he's been working on spelling and things like that. So they have to sort of like figure out how to communicate with him and try to figure out what happened to the dad because he's missing. And so the police, of course, as they have been doing, are like suspicious of Eugene. And so they're really kind of harsh with him. And so Shannon is the lawyer who comes in to try to help the family. So she's there too. And we see a little bit of Teresa. We hear a little bit about Young. So there are like little Easter eggs in there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so fun.
I liked Shannon a lot. I liked learning about circumstantial evidence.
Yeah.
In that one scene.
Yeah.
Because I have no background in law or anything like that. And so just like kind of like being walked through that was really interesting.
Yeah, that's very, very cool. I'm so glad that you like that part. And that's sort of the courtroom stuff is the fun part, right?
Yeah.
Like that's in a way, to me, the courtroom stuff was, and the mystery and the murder mystery and, like the how done it, why done it, kind of who done it, I guess. Yeah, I guess you don't know, but to me, who done it is not as interesting as a mystery because there are only so many people it could be. It has to be in order for it to be a good, satisfying ending to, you know, the whodunit question, it has to be somebody who's important to the story. It can't
Right.
just be somebody new like that comes in at the end. I hate when that happens. And so, you know, so because that feels like a cheat. So it has to, there are only so many people it could be. So for me, a mystery is much more satisfying if it's more of a how done it or a who done it, you know, things like that. So
Right.
Completely agree.
yeah.
All right, I think. Okay, so oh yeah,
Okay, Angie, I'm taking the one about Dr. Levy.
yeah, go for it.
Okay, Angie, I just wanted to say again what an absolute blessing you are. I mean, this whole book club today, I just been taking it in of like, I feel every comment, every word, and you know, being the centerpiece today is I just feel the love. And I love just the way you express yourself when everyone's sharing. And, you know, Danielle is in medical school and she's just doing such a fabulous job. And, you know, Danielle, you're so humble. You really are brilliant. And I feel like you and Otto are so dynamic. And then to see this best-selling rock star Angie just be so full of love for Otto and for the typers, it just there's no way I could exaggerate like the emotion I feel. And you know, honestly, I told you I've met a lot of authors, but I can't say I deeply love an author except for you. I feel like you're right on my screen. You're at the center. I just feel so much love for you because I feel like you can help us continue. Like I use your words from the luncheon you and Otto did. I find myself talking about it in my normal day because it was such sort of a breakthrough for me to have you explain things the way that you did. I felt like it elevated, you know. So many times, like as a human, I'm very turned off with people saying level up and this and that and all these new terms that are like the buzzwords. It turns me off because it's so, I just don't feel it. And so to have, you know, you sharing the way you have, it's made me want to be more articulate and more thoughtful and more heart-centered about what we're talking about. And I feel like I see that I want to, with, you know, this group, with Otto, with Danielle, with the typers, I feel like I told Otto a long time ago, he's like an eagle, taking us places we've always wanted to go, but not known how to get there. And this is just another example. But Angie, I really feel like we needed your heartbeat. And I feel like I've learned so much from you on how to just be better at talking about why are we judging people by verbal fluency. And I think the conversation is just so much more meaningful. And I feel like we're really going somewhere. And Dr. Levy, Danielle's dad, helped us start Autism Tree 20 years ago. And he's the chief of pediatric neurosurgery, which I think you'd find interesting, so much of your content of your books and all that type of thing. And I feel like in the time that I've known Dr. Levy in these 20 years, I'm really touched of his strength to want to work really closely. He was there with, you know, behind us today with Danielle and the typers. And really, I feel like I've experienced Dr. Levy in a different way, of him really pushing the typers to explain and show what it takes to communicate. So that's been like the last 2 to 3 years of our neuroscience conference. Otto actually had asked to be a speaker before the pandemic. And that was, you know, these are world-class neuroscience. Is that what we're bringing? Our chairman is Dr. Motri, who I think you, Angie, would find amazing. And so I'm being long-winded, but we really want to invite you. Dr. Levy would like to invite you and Janelle Brown and Anthony Dewar. Don't let me speak for you, Dr. Levy. We're trying to tee it up. Could you say something to Angie, if you wouldn't mind, about whatever you want? But the topic that I was saying, Dr. Levy, is when you helped us start Autism Tree, been together 20 years. And, you know, as your friend, even, I feel like, you know, we've been together this whole 20 years. And I love the way you have taken the typers, as a personal thing and been this moderator on the last 2 conferences and want to just see us go farther. And so our meeting was this week, Angie, and I want to pass it over to Dr. Levy and let him talk a little bit.
Awesome. Oh my God. Yeah.
No, I think this is one of my favorite things, actually. It's just such an amazing thing to occur, and just the people involved and the kind of the sentiment and statements that come out of this are just always compelling. So I'm very appreciative of the entirety of this, because I just find it so meaningful. I was always a big believer in by saying less, you mean more. I think this is a prime example of that.
Absolutely. There's actually a thing in Miracle Creek where Pak Yu, the father, actually talks about that, about how in Korea, not saying as much, verbosity is actually looked down upon a little bit, and yet it's so different here. That's so interesting that you say that, Dr. Levy.
But it's just the statements, like Otto's statements, is they're just thick. There is so much meaning put into such few words, I guess would be the best way of putting it. But so much is said with so little.
Yeah. I love that. That's great.
So Angie, we're hoping that you could help us. We wanted to do a Zoom call as part of getting ready for the neuroscience conference with you and Janelle and Anthony. Dewar has also come to our book club and been involved. And Dr. Levy wanted to meet with the 3 of you to talk about the panel this year with the typers and involve.
Oh, wow.
Maybe we should give you the date for the conference, because they're asking you to be on their panel with them.
Yes, no, that would be amazing. I would love to do that. And Otto also talked about, we've been messaging back and forth on social media about somehow incorporating this group and Otto into my book tour as well. So we're sort of scheduling that right now. And I'm definitely going to be in LA and the Bay Area. But I mean, that's so close to San Diego. So I'm hoping that we can do something that would be amazing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Rebecca, can you give Angie the date of our neuroscience conference, and we could put it in what we send out. Angie, is that okay?
Yeah. Yes, of course. That would be
Okay.
amazing. I would love that. Yeah.
Yeah. And being part of your book tour, I can't help it. I keep looking at venues in San Diego and thinking, oh my gosh, Angie would be amazing at the Peace Justice Center at USD, or this new center downtown. I think it's called Market at it's a UCSD new theater, and I've been like picturing you doing it.
Yeah, no, I mean, or even Otto and I were talking about doing the typer takeover at the bookstore, right? Like that can be. So I mean, we have so many fun different options, but I definitely want to do that. I'm actually talking to my publicity team tomorrow about their book tour proposal that they just sent me. So we will somehow figure this out. We will definitely. I definitely want to do it. Oh, Otto says Warwick's. Yes, Warwick's.
I love it. Otto Warwick sometimes has their events at the Peace and Justice Center at UCSD. I'm not UCSD, USD.
USD, right. Okay.
Which is a bigger venue.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if we can. Yeah. Whatever. Bring it on.
I think you're too big for the bookstore.
I don't know about that, but I'm really excited about that, and I think that would be amazing to do. Like, for example, this summer I'm doing for EVs. I ask for that organization. I'm doing the Motormorphosis, which is the in-person conference in July, and I am so happy to do anything like that. I mean, anything that promotes this group. I'm also teaching a virtual creative writing class that's, I think it's going to be on Tuesdays at like 3:30 our East Coast time, so like 12:30. So things like that. So I'll make sure and send you guys that too. And that's going to be specifically for typers and spellers. So things like that. Yeah. So
Angie, I just feel like I want to offer up Garrett or Anne or anyone. Do you want to have any interaction before we leave today with Angie? Because they're normally very talkative, both Garrett and Anne. So I don't want you to leave without having an opportunity to interact with Angie.
Hi, Angie.
hi,
I'm
Anne.
Leslie. This
Oh,
has been
Leslie.
Anne Leslie. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I married a man with a woman's last name.
Believe me, as Angie Kim, I am so aware of your pain. Like having people be like Kim, I'm like, no, it's Angie. Yeah.
Leslie, and no
Yeah.
one says anything because I'm
Yeah.
like, they probably mean me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually didn't finish the book yet because so many things have come up. But I am loving it and am happy to volunteer with any of these things to help coordinate, to bring people. I'm half Filipino. I have a large Asian contingent
wow.
that I can bring to, events, just for, bodies, there that would love to be
That
there.
would be amazing. That would be amazing.
So,
Yeah,
yes,
that would
yes.
be, love that. Love
And
that.
I would just love to help. I'm a bit of a writer myself, not professionally yet, but just trying. And so all of this is very exciting to me, and what you're doing with the typers and just everything that you're doing is just really inspiring. And
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm
gonna cry. I can't help it. I've read some of Annie's stuff, Angie, because she's my dear friend, and we just did it for fun. And I thought it was really good. And the number one thing I loved is that it was about her background, which she never shares with me, and it was funny because she's really funny.
Oh,
so I'm proud
I
of you.
love that.
We're like manifesting.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Miracle Creek has that much humor in it, but this next one, Happiness Falls, it's narrated by a very sarcastic 20-year-old. And so she's pretty, people are commenting on the humor a lot more. So
I think we're all gonna love that.
Oh, good.
With this group, I think it's gonna have to read that one next, I think.
Oh, definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to say anything to Angie?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for doing this. It's always really inspiring to see, especially as somebody who currently is in law school. And I think one thing that I always definitely think about and talk about with my peers is how a lot of our professors are probably wannabe writers. And so I think I myself, while I've not done nearly as much writing as Anne, is definitely something that is within the realm of things that I'm interested in. So it's very inspiring to see how you're using your platform to elevate people and to tell stories in a really interesting way. And similarly, if you ever want to come out to Duke Law, let me know. I'm in charge of various things that I could bring you for. I founded Duke's Neurodivergent Students Association, so it could be with that. But if that's of interest, please let me know. I'm happy to arrange that.
Definitely. I just did a creative writing class at Duke. I spoke at the creative writing department, and so which is undergrad, but yeah, I would love that. I've done law school stuff, and so it's really, really fun. I love doing things like that. I love doing school visits of any kind. So yeah, but especially I think it would be fun. I think medical school would be fun. I mean, I've done so many law firm things and law school things. Miracle Creek was actually required reading for all the judges in the Ninth Circuit. It was so fun. That was like, and I've done a lot of ABA things, and just because of the courtroom elements, they like seeing, how they like seeing depictions of courtrooms that are a little more realistic and things like that. So So it's been really, really fun to do those things. But I think the medical school stuff would be really, really fun, especially, and neurodiversity, especially for Happiness Falls. Like Happiness Falls in October for AAC Awareness Month. My publicists are really trying to do more of that, and I'm just sort of like, I'm gonna waive all my speaking fees for those types of things. So, you know, so would love to do anything, Garrett. And
Oh,
and since
awesome.
you're gonna be in DC, we should try to, you know, I'll send you my schedule or some of events or something, and maybe you can come to one, or I can come to something, or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, that would be amazing.
That'd be
Again,
great.
thank you
Yeah.
so much. This has been fantastic.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
Messages.
To close
Yay.
it out, I want to say a few things.
I'm sorry, Rebecca.
Otto says, girl, that's freaking awesome. October. Love it. But Angie, and then also I wanted to say, I think this is perfect to close out our book club. Otto said, this book club is inclusion at its best. It's incremental and incidental. It's not a law enforced by federal law of ADA. And it's people interacting with people in authentic occasions. And that's what I really love about this. And so I really, like, Angie, we would be so honored for you to join our neuroscience conference, or at least be on our committee, you know, to help bring forward.
Absolutely. I
Piper.
would love that. I would love that. Seriously.
Otto says, yes, it's a party for the ages. These scientists know how to party.
I didn't think that was true, but I believe you.
He says they seem really nerdy, but they really level up.
Great. I love it. I love it.
Oh my God.
And I love that Wyatt also wrote because Otto asked how we can find out about the writing course. I will send it to you guys, but Wyatt also says that Julie at Growing Kids, yes, at Julie at growingkidstherapy.com for the writing class, but I will also send it out. So that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wyatt. And yeah, thank you, Wyatt. That's so wonderful. Awesome. Very, very cool.
We'll definitely send out a recap of all of this information, and Angie, anything that you would like to send us, we can include it. And we'll send you the recording as soon as this is done as well.
Oh, definitely. That's so cool. Wait, I want to do like a screenshot here.
Oh yes, we got to do our group picture. Everybody turn on their cameras and smile. And I love that you're wearing that hat, Angie.
I know, that's fantastic.
I can't get it. Wait, how do I get this? I feel like
there we
I feel
go.
like it's a little like I need a bigger head or something.
I love it.
I had auto stuff behind me too. Okay, big smiles. Ready? 3, 2, 1, cheese.
Wait, I want to do this too.
Oh yes, we got to do it. Perfect. Ready? 3, 2, 1, cheese. Love it. Thank you.
Yay.
Oh, thanks everybody. Thank you, Angie, for everything. It was
you.
so generous.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Have a great
Bye,
day,
everybody.
everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Love you, Otto. Love you, Danielle, Dr. Levy. Bye, Garrett. So good to see you.